the tragic case of Brad Keith Sigmon, Justice or Redemption. Step into the profound darkness of one of South Carolina's most chilling criminal cases, a case that struck at the fragile balance between love, betrayal, obsession, and the pursuit of justice. We're delving into the grim world of Brad Keith Sigmon, an American convicted murderer whose actions shattered lives and incited moral debates about capital punishment. In April of 2001, the ruins of a broken relationship spiraled into unthinkable violence. Sigmon's crime, beating his ex-girlfriend's parents to death with a baseball bat, etched his name into the annals of American criminal history. But this story isn't just about the horrifying act itself. It's about the aftermath, the echoes of destruction, and the justice system that must grapple with profound questions of morality, humanity, and the ultimate price of crime. We will explore not only the brutal events that took place that night, but also the deeper ramifications of Sigmon's case. Who was Brad Keith Sigmon? How did a man consumed by personal turmoil and rejection commit such a heinous act? And in seeking justice, can retribution truly bring solace, or is it society's way of sidestepping more difficult conversations on redemption and reform? Let us take you inside the shadows of this haunting case, where every detail is a piece of a larger tragedy that continues to provoke questions with no easy answers. Brad Keith Sigmon wasn't born a monster. His early life, marked by personal struggles and battling addiction, paints the picture of a man headed toward the precipice of self-destruction. Sources close to Sigmon described his history as turbulent, filled with instability and unresolved issues that followed him into adulthood. Rebecca Barber, his ex-girlfriend, was both a bright spot and the center of his emotional vulnerability. The two shared a 3-year relationship, during which Sigmon became deeply attached, perhaps too attached. But all things have breaking points, and their relationship was no different. Rebecca made the decision to leave Brad in April 2001, taking refuge with her parents, William David and Gladys Lark. The breakup was the pebble that started an avalanche. For Brad, it wasn't mere heartbreak. It was an irreparable tear in his sense of identity and control. In the days following the split, his behavior took a dark turn. Obsession began to cloud his judgment. April 27, 2001, a date the Lark family wouldn't survive. In a moment of terrifying clarity, Brad Keith Sigmon decided to act on his growing rage. Armed with a baseball bat, he entered the home of William David and Gladys Lark. What followed was an eruption of violence so brutal, it would haunt investigators for years. Sigmon attacked his ex-girlfriend's parents in a grotesque display of fury. Blows from the bat were delivered with such force that both victims suffered crushed skulls, leaving no chance for survival. William, aged 62, and Gladys, 59, loving parents protecting their daughter, were robbed of their lives in the most intimate and horrific way possible. After ensuring they were lifeless, Sigmon had one more act of terror planned. He kidnapped Rebecca. With a gun aimed at her, he dragged her into the vehicle, undoubtedly to continue his deadly campaign. By some act of courage or fate, Rebecca managed to escape, leaving Brad to flee. Sigmon vanished into the wind, triggering a multi-state manhunt. For 11 days, he managed to evade capture, bouncing from one location to another, leaving authorities in a desperate scramble to track him down. His run for freedom ended in Tennessee when law enforcement finally apprehended him, closing the first chapter of this harrowing saga. But while his arrest marked an end to the immediate threat, it ignited a legal storm that would last for decades, casting doubts and moral quandaries over the very foundation of capital punishment. In 2002, Sigmon faced his day in court. The evidence against him was overwhelming, the brutality of the murders undeniable, and the terror inflicted upon Rebecca unforgettable. A jury didn't need long to deliver its decision. Brad Keith Sigmon was guilty on all counts. 2 death sentences were handed down for the murders of William and Gladys Lark. Added to that was a 30-year term for first-degree burglary. But the courtroom wasn't quiet. Even as justice seemed to be served, murmurs of deeper societal issues began to emerge. Sigmon's defense pointed to his troubled past, his mental health struggles, and the influence of substance abuse. Was this a case of pure evil, or the tragic culmination of unresolved trauma and addiction? Could there have been chances to intervene before he reached this point of no return? The conviction of Brad Keith Sigmon may have marked closure for some, but it opened a dark and consequential debate for others. His case became a lightning rod for conversations around the death penalty, particularly in South Carolina. South Carolina reinstated capital punishment in the late 20th century, but Sigmon's case highlighted its moral and practical implications. What does it mean to take a human life as payment for another? Is it closure for the victims' families, or a symbolic gesture meant to assure society of an order restored? And where does accountability begin and end for someone born into systemic failure and personal hardship? Sigmon's execution has yet to be carried out, but his options were stark: lethal injection, electrocution, or the firing squad. South Carolina's legislature, facing public pressure, had brought these methods to the forefront after significant delays in executions across the state. Sigmon chose the firing squad, a hauntingly archaic method that he saw as preferable to the alternatives. His choice reignited visceral national discussions, with his case becoming a prism for societal struggles over justice, punishment, and redemption. While Brad Sigmon's story poses profound questions, it is crucial not to let the victims' voices be eclipsed. William David and Gladys Lark were more than casualties in a tragic tale. They were parents, protectors, and beloved members of their community. Both in their 60s, they represented the best of family love and resilience. But in their desire to shield their daughter from an obsessive and dangerous man, they became the ultimate targets of his wrath. Their loss is incalculable, their absence eternal. The story of their lives stands as a solemn reminder of what was shattered in Sigmon's rage. For Rebecca Barbere, the survivor at the heart of this tragedy, the weight is indescribable. Not only did she endure the psychological torment of her kidnapping, but she also lost her parents in the most violent of ways. Hers is a voice that echoes the secondary trauma survivors face even when the initial danger has passed. As we navigate this vortex of tragedy, what lessons does the story of Brad Keith Sigmon leave behind? On one level, it is a terrifyingly personal account consumed by rejection and twisted by obsession. On another, it serves as a broader reflection of society's failings, the inability to intervene earlier, the challenges of addressing mental health, and the unresolved debate over capital punishment. Is it enough to view Brad Sigmon purely as a criminal, or must we consider him as a product of his environment and choices? Does the death penalty serve its purpose as a deterrent, or does it perpetuate cycles of violence under the guise of justice? And for victims' families, does execution truly bring peace, or create more scars? These are questions with no easy answers, yet true crime enthusiasts and justice advocates must continue to ask them, taking cases like Sigmon's as opportunities to reflect on our shared humanity, even in the darkest moments. In the end, the tragic case of Brad Keith Sigmon is more than a story of crime and punishment. It is a mosaic of lives that intersected and unraveled under unbearable tension, an account that forces us to stare deep into society's ethical mirror. The question remains, is justice enough without redemption? And can redemption exist without justice? For some, Sigmon represents the ultimate embodiment of accountability. For others, his story is a testament to the ways in which we fail at true rehabilitation. As Brad Keith Sigmon remains on death row, awaiting what is likely to be a firing squad execution, his case remains etched in the legal and moral landscape of America. It beckons us to ask, how far are we willing to go to see justice served, and at what cost to our collective morality? Let this haunting tale not just be a recount of crime, but a reason to persist in dialogue, to seek understanding, and to grasp at solutions that save lives, even those veering toward darkness. The shadows of Brad Keith Sigmon remind us of the high cost of human failure and the fragile balance within the pursuit of justice.